All right, guys, so Biden has picked his affirmative action Supreme Court judge. And there's already some interesting takes online about this, as you have some people out there that are celebrating this as, well, Biden is putting the first black person on the Supreme Court, right? And I think Thurgood Marshall will have a problem with that, along with Clarence Thomas, okay? So, yeah, we're already getting some interesting takes in regards to Biden's pick, okay? He ended up picking a black woman. Now, I'm saying affirmative action because he told us that it was affirmative action, right? He said, hey, I'm going to pick a black woman, okay? He didn't say I'm going to pick the most qualified person. He said, I'm going to pick a black woman, which by definition is affirmative action, okay? So when people say that, that's not racist, right? That's not coming out of any form of hate. That simply is what he said, okay? And we're gonna talk about that, okay? Because the question is this person qualified, right? That's what everybody's wondering. But before we get into that, I just want to mention that if you like my commentary, if you like my channel, you want to support my channel, feel free to do so using the links in the description below. You can support the Patreon, you can support the PayPal, you can support the merch. There are multiple ways to support the channel if you would like to do so, including purchasing one of my signature racist mugs, which is a daily reminder of what the definition of racist is in 2022, which is basically anybody who disagrees with the Democrat Party. So if you want to get one of those mugs, check it out. So without further ado, let's get into Biden introducing his Supreme Court judge nominee. Take a look.
My nominee for the United States Supreme Court is Judge Ketanji Jackson. You know, 4 weeks ago when a member of the court, a friend of mine, we used to work together in the Senate, Justice Stephen Breyer, announced his retirement. I said then, choosing someone to serve on the United States Supreme Court is one of the most serious constitutional responsibility a president has, and I mean it. I promised the process would be rigorous, that I would select a nominee worthy of Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence and decency, someone extremely qualified.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am truly humbled by the extraordinary honor of this nomination, and I am especially grateful for the care that you have taken in discharging your constitutional duty in service of our democracy with all that is going on in the world today.
All right, guys, so now that you got an introduction to her from President Biden, now it's time to take a look at the mainstream liberal media reaction, and it should be just as expected. Take a look.
So much about the history that we are watching unfold before our eyes right now. And I do think that it's important to note 115 Supreme Court justices, 108 of those have been white men. There has never been a black woman even nominated to serve on the bench. Judge Jackson, as a dark-skinned black woman in this country, has had to navigate an immense amount of challenges to get to where she is.
It's history. It is history. Jeffrey, stand by. Brianna?
Yeah, it is. It is a very big deal. And to talk about that aspect of it, Abby Phillip is joining us now. You know, assuming she is confirmed, she will be the first African-American female justice on the Supreme Court, which, look, maybe not officially, but at least in practice, has been disqualifying when it comes to nominees up until now, Abby.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a long time in the making, and it's already been the source of some political back and forth. But I think that what you're going to see realistically, Brianna, is I think you're going to see mainstream Republicans not picking a fight over that issue, knowing that it is a political loser. The White House is preparing to activate a host of outside groups to back her up. Black women's organizations that have been critical to the Democratic Party's success are ready and waiting to back. They were ready and waiting to back any of these nominees, but ready and waiting to back Judge Brown Jackson. So this is going to be, I think, they are prepared for the attacks. But I also think that you can see, based on how, Mitch McConnell has been signaling in the last week, he doesn't want to pick a fight over the issue of the fact that she is African American. But I think you can expect the usual. They're going to pick through her rulings. They are going to dissect everything that she has ever said. in her private life and in her public life. And that is going to be the real battleground on which this is fought.
Yeah, so isn't it amazing, right, how the mainstream liberal media fawns praise over this pick, right, as historic, right, a win, okay? However, you didn't hear this same thing when it came to Amy Coney Barrett, right? When Trump picked a woman, right? They didn't say, oh, this is a win for women. In fact, they actually said the exact opposite, right? They said it was a setback for women because of her views on abortion, right? I just find it fascinating how the mainstream liberal media reacts when a so-called minority is put on the court when it comes from a party that they don't like, okay? The same way they treat Clarence Thomas as if he's not black, okay? Ain't it funny how that works? And also, it's also funny how they try to act like, you know, being a black woman was disqualified. It's almost like they forget history. They forget the fact that Biden actually worked to try to block the GOP from potentially nominating a black woman when they were actively considering putting a black woman on the Supreme Court, right? And he did that specifically because she was a black woman, okay? He said he would filibuster the hell out of any attempt from the GOP to put a black woman on the Supreme Court, okay? Because he didn't want the GOP to be able to say that they put one on the court, right? So he did it because she was a black woman. I want people to understand that. So while the Biden administration, the mainstream liberal media is around here running a victory lap over this, just remember, one of the reasons why a black woman has not been on the Supreme Court until now is literally because of Biden and the Democrats. I want people to understand that. And I also want to note here real quick, because I want to point out how silly this is, right? Next time somebody has this conversation about representation, right, and proportional representation, okay, when it comes to, for example, jobs like being an NFL head coach, you notice how there are now 2 black people on the Supreme Court, okay? That's 2 out of 9. That's now 22% of the Supreme Court. Black people, only 13% of the population. Why are there no arguments about, well, are black people now overrepresented on the Supreme Court? Okay. Now, again, I'm just saying that just to point out how silly it is when leftists bring up the whole representation argument. Representation only matters to them when white people are overrepresented. But if there's another group of people that are overrepresented, okay, it doesn't really matter to them. Because again, if they really cared about representation and not just, you know, woke virtue signaling, right? If they really wanted to make the court representative of the country, they would have picked the Asian, right? But right now, though, it's the time of the black woman, right? It's the time of the black woman. Because remember, they're the ones that saved democracy, okay? So I wonder how that is working out for the country right now, okay? When it comes to experiencing massive inflation. And I wonder how that's working out for the world as well, too. I don't know. Let's ask Ukraine. But with that being said, I mean, from what I'm hearing in the media, for what I'm reading, it seems that, you know, at least according to them, that she's very, very, very qualified for the job. Even Fox News is singing her praises. Take a look.
I think that President Biden is correct that there are elements of her background which are particularly compelling. And I put up there the fact that she was a public defender and that she has litigation experience. Those are relative rarities on the court. They give a certain depth of experience that can help a justice in these cases. But in looking at her judicial philosophy, it's a bit of a challenge. She's only actually published a single decision as an appellate judge, an opinion, and that came out in the last 24 hours. It was a win for unions against a change by federal agencies. She has some opinions as a district court judge. They're quite lengthy opinions. She has been reversed, and the D.C. Circuit reversed her for basically judicial overreach in a couple of cases. In one case, the court said that she didn't have jurisdiction to rule on the matter. Those are going to get close scrutiny. But as a resume, it's as was said earlier, it's a stellar resume, and she is a very impressive person.
She has no record or rulings or writings or speeches on hot-button issues like abortion, gun rights, or freedom of religion. So
right.
I suppose that gives you an idea of where this confirmation process will go.
I don't think that the Republicans are probably going to put up that much of a fight against this for various reasons. Okay, the optics just ain't going to look good. It's too far out from 2024, and I think that just actively trying to fight to keep this woman from being on the Supreme Court, it ain't gonna look good for them, right? Because the Democrats gonna play the race card all day long, okay? If they do that, right? So I'm just saying, I'm predicting that they're probably not gonna put up a fight for that very reason. And with the courts already stacked in the favor of conservatives, you're not really gaining anything by keeping this woman off the court, right? She's simply just replacing another liberal, right? That's what's happening. So the battle is just simply not worth it, to be quite honest with you, especially going into the midterms, right? There's no reason to give the Democrats some type of rallying cry going into the midterms and say, oh, look at the GOP blocking a black woman from sitting on the court, okay? There's no reason to do that. Now, with that being said, again, when it comes to whether or not she's qualified, again, like I said, I don't know. Right, I don't know. In the mainstream media, left and right, say that she is, right? They say that she is. But I wouldn't have these questions in my head had Biden not come out and said that, well, I'm just going to pick a black woman, right? And you're literally disqualifying everybody else, okay? And this is the problem. For the rest of this judge's life, right, during her tenure in the Supreme Court, if she's actually confirmed to the court, people will always have an asterisk by her name. Okay, not because she's actually not qualified, but because people have reason to believe that she might not be qualified. People have reason to believe that she was only picked because of her race and what's between her legs. Okay, I want people to understand that, right? If Biden had come out here and just picked somebody, right, and it happened to have been a black woman, I don't think that people would be sitting here questioning how qualified she is. Right now, obviously, you know, she's probably a radical leftist, okay? Otherwise, I don't think she would have been picked, right? And with that being said, I mean, that would be the bulk of the argument, right? That would be the bulk of the issue is that, okay, well, we don't agree with her political philosophy, okay? But again, the question of her qualifications only comes into play because Biden used race as a qualifier. And I want people to understand this. Nobody should want to be picked because of their race or their sex, right? And people might say, oh, well, Trump did it with Amy Coney Barrett. Well, Trump was wrong for doing that too, right? Trump was wrong for coming out and saying, oh, I'm just going to pick a woman. He was wrong for doing that too. He should have just came out, picked somebody, right? And if it's a woman, so be it. That way people can't degrade that candidate and say, oh, well, you only got picked because you're a woman. Or, oh, you only got picked because, you know, you're black or you're this color or that color. I don't understand why people are okay with knowing they're only getting picked not based off their merits, but because of their race. Or put it this way, their race made it so they had an advantage over other people instead of just beating that person out by strictly merits, right? I don't understand why people are okay with that. How can you be okay with that, right? I wouldn't be okay with that. If I was that judge, I would be thinking inside my head like, damn, I worked so hard. I have all these qualifications, and yet I only got picked, or a majority of why I got picked was because I was a black woman, right? I might be the most qualified black woman, but I think I'm also more qualified than all these other people who are not black women, right? I don't think he needed to put a qualifier on it based off race in order to have me picked because I'm more qualified than all these people. That's the way that you actually should be thinking about it. But again, while these people are talking about, oh, well, he made history, blah, 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 again, in the minds of a lot of people, and in their minds as well, too, they know, and they're asking the question of how qualified is this woman actually, right? Again, it's a shame for her because, again, she very well could be qualified, right? Very qualified. But, again, people question it because of why she was picked, because he told us outright that he's picking a black woman. And this is why I really advocate for people. Stop elevating people to certain positions based off their race and their skin color. Because I'm going to tell you, Kamala Harris being picked to the vice presidency because she's a black woman, okay, because of affirmative action. Biden literally said he picked her because she was a black woman. That's a setback for black women, right? It's terrible for the job that she's doing. Look how that worked out for the country. Now, another black woman that becomes vice president or even president of the United States, people are going to be like, okay, are they really qualified, right? Look at the last time we was picking people based off their race and what was in their pants. Look, we got a disaster, right? Again, I'm just saying, her qualifications will always be questioned because of the fact that Biden picked her simply because of her race and her sex. And that is a disservice to her. It really is. And not just to her, but it's also a disservice to black people and other so-called non-whites. Okay, it really is. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.